If you've been in the UK these past few weeks and you still don't believe in global warming, well, I'm afraid there's no hope for you. We had temperatures in the 30s, followed by torrential rain and a lightning strike that set Trafford General on fire. Hi, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. We're on another adventure to see what we can learn about Manchester. Greater Manchester, actually. Today we're in Sale, and in a few minutes we'll be heading over to Altrincham. I'm revisiting something I found about 4 years ago, and I hadn't thought of it until I started preparing this video. Alright, I admit it, the thumbnail's clickbait, but in fairness, this video's not about how to become a billionaire. It's about how to be one. Frankly, I'm sick to death of this billionaire space race. It's all very exciting to see renewed interest in space travel, but I must remind you, we did all of this 60 years ago. It'll probably be just as exciting to watch Bezos launch his new gazillion-dollar yacht. We do like to gawk at the lifestyles of the rich and famous. But really, is that the best you can do for humanity? Shoot Teslas and phallic rockets into outer space? Let's abandon all hope for the planet. We'll dream of colonizing Mars and send tons of CO2 into the atmosphere while we take a little joyride. And then there's Bill Gates. Now, he may not be dreaming of space, but he's trying to make space for the extra money he makes after he successfully urged Oxford to not make their vaccine free. Is this how to be a billionaire? I think not. Stick around till the end, where I have a special message for our new elite rocket men, a suggestion that would actually help the world, rather than entertain our uber rich. This story is about a man who went from being worth £14 million, now that's 1918 pounds, to owning just over $500,000 when he died. As the saying goes, shrouds don't have pockets. You can't take it with you. He didn't lose it. He didn't squander it. He made the world a better place with it. This is the story of John Leigh. This is the site of the former John Leigh War Memorial Hospital. There's not much left to see of it anymore. Sale and Brooklyn's War Memorial Hospital, originally John Leigh War Memorial Hospital, opened in 1921 and closed sometime in the early 90s. It was demolished a few years later and flats were built on the site. They saved the sign over the door and built it into the wall here. By the time war broke out in 1914, John Leigh was 30, a well-respected businessman working in the cotton waste industry. As seriously injured servicemen returned home from the battlefields and the ravages of war became more evident, John and his wife decided to do what they could to relieve the suffering they witnessed. They purchased Townfield House in Altrincham, with the intention to fix it up to accommodate 100 wounded officers and to lend it to the Red Cross for the duration of the war. It was opened on the 28th of April, 1917. Afterwards, the idea was for it to be used by disabled soldiers. Now, this wasn't one of those Downton Abbey hospitals where they just provided a place for the soldiers to sleep while they recovered. This was a state-of-the-art facility. The hospital contained 3 floors with an electric lift, 10 wards and a spacious recreation room, including separate accommodations for the staff. The grounds were also specially laid out to include a large vegetable garden, which helped supply the hospital. Apart from the government allowance for patients' maintenance, the hospital was entirely funded by John Leigh. When it was no longer required by the Red Cross Society, it was to continue as a home for disabled sailors and soldiers at John Leigh's expense. John Leigh continued to finance the maintenance costs, which included the purchase of 5 ambulances and their ongoing running expenses. Later, John Leigh donated his father's former home, Woodbourne, here in Brooklands, together with 8 acres of land. Samuel Brooks, who we've talked about before on this channel, the namesake of Brooklands, built 4 large detached houses in 1861 on the new Brooklands Road, one called Fernacre, another Merseylee, Belmore, which is the only one which remains today, and finally Woodbourne. I presume this is the house in question. The original brochure held by Trafford Studies clearly calls it John Leigh Memorial Hospital, Woodbourne, Brooklands. But here we have Lyndon Lee Auxiliary Military Hospital, Brooklands, Cheshire. This photo is labeled the opening of Lyndon Lee Red Cross Hospital, Brooklands Road, by the Duke of Connaught, and that, most definitely, is John Leigh. Lyndon Lee was apparently opposite to Woodbourne. The names of these buildings and associated photos are a bit mixed up, I think. and it may be something for someone to investigate. But suffice it to say, John Leigh had a hand in them and was quite free with his money to help in this cause. He financed the conversion and fitting out and maintenance of what came to be known as the John Leigh Memorial Hospital. Records show it as opening in 1921 as the John Leigh Memorial Hospital and later changing its name to the Salem Brooklands War Memorial Hospital in 1928. Some people have referred to it as the Sale Cottage Hospital, but again the records are confusing. I'll leave it to someone else to try and set the record straight. Leave a comment if you have any insight into this. At any rate, one of the hospitals he financed, supposedly this one, was specifically designed and equipped to help servicemen returning from battle who were suffering from neurasthenia. This was more commonly known as shell shock, but doctors used the term neurasthenia to avoid the stigma that was attached to shell shock, as many thought them to be malingerers and cowards. Of course, today it would be called post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. The only similar hospital in the country at the time was in Golders Green, London. That's when our early 20th century billionaires started their own space race, but a much more dignified one that provided space rather than blasting off into it. John Leigh intended to offer Altrincham Council money to purchase the derelict Oldfield Hall estate from the Countess of Stamford. The large area of land adjacent to Townfield House was to provide a recreational facility for the occupants of the John Leigh Hospital. The land cost £7,000 and spread over 12 acres. It was hotly debated in the local press at the time because it was desired by the council for returning soldiers as a home for heroes. The Countess of Stamford said it had always been the desire of the late Lord Stamford that his Oldfield estate become the property of Altrincham, to be maintained as a park. She wanted Altrincham to benefit from John Leigh's generous offer, so instead a gift of equal value from the Earl of Stamford's estate would take the form of land for workmen's dwellings, equal in value to the Oldfield estate. The estate was considered to be one of the most beautiful private parks in Cheshire. The land given by the now Earl of Stamford on the occasion of his coming of age would be laid out in Garden City lines. 400 houses for working people were added in the 1920s. This area is what we now know as the Oldfield Brow Estate. The council were delighted to accept John Leigh's offer, and his donation came with no condition other than that the land be known as Leigh Park in the memory of his father, and kept as an open space forever. The park is now in the care of the Friends of John Leigh. Instead of providing his employees with free cups to pee in December 1917 he gave a 20% bonus on a year's wages to all the employees of John Leigh Limited, so they could invest in war bonds and to meet the increased cost of living. John was made a baronet in 1918, becoming Sir John Leigh of Altrincham. Leigh was rewarded for war service and contributing to all war charities, including a very large sum to the Ministry of Pensions, which provided for institutional treatment for disabled soldiers. He also donated to the King's Fund for disabled soldiers, gifting £50,000. It was estimated in 1918 alone, his donations to the war effort amounted to over £300,000. His generous financial gifts and personal involvement, together with his wife, provided numerous servicemen the best available care, support, and comfort they justifiably deserved as a result of their service to the nation. John was elected as a Member of Parliament in 1922. He held the seat until he retired from politics in 1945. In 1930, he gave a generous donation of £10,000 to provide work for hundreds of unemployed textile workers. The gift was in response to those affected by continued trade depression. John Leigh died the 28th of July, 1959. On his death, Sir John's estate was valued at £590,985, 1 shilling and 8 pence. A very tidy sum, but he had used the overwhelming majority of his money to make life better for his fellow man. But I have a little suggestion for our new class of billionaires as they race towards space and the new title of trillionaire. A suggestion from the pages of John Leigh's life. A little suggestion on how to be a billionaire, or at least how to be a good one. On the same day that Sir Richard Branson went into space injecting over 300 tons of carbon dioxide into the upper atmosphere for a little joyride, he appeared on social media imploring the world to be more aware of climate change. Well, here's one for you, Ricky. I hope you're not aware of it, because if you are, then why haven't you and your pals solved it? It's bad enough that Bezos is looking more and more like Dr. Evil every day. He doesn't have to continually act like it. Recently, I watched a video about hurricane lanterns. You know, those beautifully quaint things that we sometimes use when we're camping. It was very interesting, but at the end, there was a statistic that nearly floored me. It was so unbelievable, I had to dig deeper to find out if it's true. The primary source of light for more than 1 billion people in developing nations is also churning out black carbon at levels previously overlooked in climate warming estimates. According to a new study led by researchers at UC Berkeley and the University of Illinois, smoke emitted by simple wick lamps was found to be a significant but previously overlooked source of global black carbon. These lamps are used for light in 250 to 300 million households without electricity. At least 270,000 tons of black carbon per year is estimated to be emitted from kerosene lamps worldwide, having a climate warming equivalent close to 240 million tons of carbon dioxide. That's 4.5% of the United States carbon dioxide emissions, nearly a third of the airline industry. Kerosene lamps are relatively low-hanging fruit, and upgrading to alternative lighting sources can result in rapid climate benefits at low cost. So let's have a look at Mr. Bezos' website and see how much it would cost to solve this problem. Everybody's seen these things. They don't give off a lot of light, but they're actually brighter than a kerosene lamp, and a lot healthier too. The emissions from kerosene lanterns are not only detrimental to the environment, they're also really bad for your health. So let's try a multi-pack, but I don't think they're going to have a 300 million pack. There we go. 225 each times 300 million. 675 million pounds. That's less than Branson's flight, which cost 841 million pounds. You could do it yourself, Jeff. Think of it this way. Eventually, they'll have to buy a new one when the batteries wear out or the solar cell gives out. So think of it as a get one free, buy one. They have to buy kerosene so they can afford it. When it's spread out over the life of a solar cell and a battery, it's a win-win, Jeff. You can sell them new batteries, and once they have a little solar cell, then you can sell them more little electric gadgets. Just think, Jeff, you could probably get these for a few p each. Charge your billionaire buddies full price. You know they're going to want in on it when they see how much goodwill comes from it. You could make a killing on this. You'll end up with all the money and the lion's share of the environmental kudos. I bet the Queen will even make an exception and give you a knighthood, with the Sir title. Come on, guys, it's not rocket science. Hey guys, sorry about the rant. It's not the usual thing we do here at Wicked Acorn. Usually we do little local history documentaries about Manchester, and this video is actually going to be part of next week's video, but I thought the message was important enough that it should stand alone. Who knows, maybe Dickie Branson will see it and do something about it. But if you want to see more like this, or more of our usual stuff we do, give us a like, leave a comment, or hit the subscribe button. To infinity and beyond! Did it work?